Welcome to IGCSE Sociology Specimen Guide series. In this series, we will talk about both sociology papers, paper number 1 and paper number 2. As you guys know that Cambridge have made some changes into the content and into the paper pattern. So let's understand paper number 1. Paper number 1 basically include the research method, identity and inequality chapters. If you guys know the content, so you get the understanding that they have involved these three chapters: research method, identity and inequality in paper number 1. So we have basically 2 hours for paper number 1, right? And we have total 80 marks for this particular paper number 1. Now if you see the instruction, we have basically 3 questions in paper number 1. Question number 1, it have some sub questions, and then question number 2 and question number 3. Now we only have to attempt 2 questions. Question 1, we have to attempt must, and we have the choice between question number 2 and question number 3, right? So this is something you need to know before jumping on to the questions. Now let's come on to question number 1, that is related to research method, right? You can see that in our question number 1 we have basically these A, B, C, D and E parts, right? So we have basically 5 parts in our question number 1. Question number 1, you can see the pattern that they already have provided a paragraph and they ask few of the questions from this paragraph, and to answer these questions we have to find the answer from this paragraph, right? And then you can see section B, section C and section D and section E, they have asked few of the questions related to research method chapter, right? So you can see that we have 2, 4 and 6, and then 2, 4, 10 and 12 marks. Question number 1 having total 40 marks, right? Now let's move on to question number 1 part A. For that video I already have read the full paragraph. You can read this paragraph first and then try to answer, right? For the video I will directly move on to the questions, and questions have been asked. From source A, identify 2 personal topics covered in the study of adult development. Now you can see that we have basically 2 marks and award 1 mark per correct answer. Remember these things, that award, you will be awarded 1 mark for or per correct answer. And what could be the answer of question number 1 part A? That is mental health and physical health. Mental health and physical health, right? So this is how you can get 2 out of 2 marks from question number 1 part A. Now if you move on to source A part 2, which basically contains the 4 marks, and the question is saying that using information in source A, explain 2 reasons why in-depth interviews were useful in investigating what makes people healthy and happy. Now we have basically 4 marks for that particular question. So 1 mark you will get according to marking scheme, 1 mark you will get for identifying the reason, and 1 mark you will get to explain this reason, right? As they mentioned the 2 reasons, so that will be for reason number 1, and then process will remain same for reason number 2. Now let's try to answer for that particular questions, and they are saying that using information in source A, explain 2 reasons why in-depth interviews were useful in investigating what makes people healthy and happy. Reason number 1 could be it allow researchers to gain the qualitative data. Okay, so you might say qualitative data You can answer like that, that this provide detailed insight. This provide detailed insight detailed insights into personal experience, into personal experience related to mental health, related to mental health. Now you can see what we did. We identified that reason. So according to marking scheme, we are able to get 1 mark. And then we have defined this identification. Now you can see that we got 2 marks for one identification. Now move on to the second identification. That could be flexibility in depth interviews enable the participant to feel comfortable. Right. So you might say the flexibility. Flexibility. Now again, we will be able to get 1 mark. And you can say the researcher can build fast, or you can say encouraging participants. It encourage participants participants to express their thoughts, to express their thoughts to express their thoughts more openly. More openly. Increasing the validity of the data. Increasing validity of the data. Validity of data. Now you can see that again for the explanation, we will be able to get 1 mark again. Now you can see for two identification, we totally got how much? We totally get 4 marks. So this is how you have to write the answer to get 4 out of 4 marks. Now move on to source A part 3. You can see that we have basically 6 marks for that particular question. So they are saying that using information in source A, explain 3 reasons why the sample may not be representative of all the pupil. Again, they are asking for 3 reasons. So keep in mind the marking scheme for question number 2, source A, for the 4 marks question, right? So the pattern is same. What we have to do now, we have to provide 3 reasons. 1 mark for identification, right? 1 mark for explaining this identification. So this is how for one identification we will get how much? We will get 2 marks. Now they are asking for 3 reasons. So 2 marks for each identification. So they are asking for 3 reasons. This is how we can get 6 out of 6 marks in source A part 3. Now let's try to attempt the question and see that what things we have in this particular questions. They are saying that explain 3 reasons why the sample may not be representative of all the pupil. So answer number 1, that you can write it as the sample consisted only of white males. Okay. So sample, again I am mentioning that I already have read the whole paragraph. So for giving the answer to this question, you need to understand the paragraph very well. So what you can say, that sample consisted only of white males. Only of white males. So you can say this means that women and ethnic minorities, this mean women and ethnic minorities, women and ethnic minorities were excluded. were excluded, making the finding less generalizable. Make finding less generalizable. Now move on to second finding. The second finding could be the participants were all university students. Participants were all university students, right? So again, you will explain it, and now move on to third part that we have, or you can say the third reason that we can write it over here. The study was conducted in the United States only. So study conducted in US. So the culture and social dynamics of the US may not be applicable to other countries, limiting the global generalizability. Now, what we did, you have to explain this one, right? So I just gave you identification. So again, you have to explain these points. 2 marks you will get from identification number 1. 2 marks you will get from identification number 2. And 2 marks you will get from identification number 3. And this is how, when you will accumulate them, you would be able to get 6 out of 6 marks. And you can see that source A, we got how much in part A? We have basically 12 marks. So this is how you can get 12 out of 12 marks.